have asked some of you in the audience to prepare yourself to give some reflections from the day and also make some sort of a forward notification of what to do with the next step. And I have asked one representative from the grid operator and one from the Nordic nuclear industry and one from the nuclear regulator and one from the international section as well. So we will have all the combined and all the stakeholders together. So I will welcome up Minna from Fingrid and Henric from Ringhals. Is Henric here? There, please join us. And I will also welcome up Mattias Karlsson from Swedish Radiation Safety Authority and also Tatiana from Framatome. So please just, I think we'll do, if I hand out this mic and use this one. I will start with, wait for Henric to come to place. Please come in. I'm standing in the middle now. That was not. Please move it. Okay. I will start with you, Minna. What have you been seeing today, and what is your reflections of flexibility, and how are you doing that in Finland?
Thank you, Maja. So yes, my name is Minna Laasonen. I come from Fingrid, the Finnish TSO transmission system operator. And thank you for all the interesting presentations we have had today. So it was really nice to hear all those things. And especially I highlight the need presented by Maja and Andreas, since our Nordic system is changing quite fastly. So we get a lot of new renewable power, wind power, solar power. But on the other hand, we'll get still big nuclear power plants and also big HVDC units. So we will have a lighter system in that sense that we don't have this kinetic energy in the system in the future so much, but still we have these big units with big power changes. So we need to adapt the system to that. So we have a clear need for changes. And especially this flexibility. And we have discussed a lot frequency control today. And Nordic countries have cooperated a lot during last years, try to make new requirements, especially for reserved frequency controlled reserves, in order to improve the situation also in the future, so that we can maintain this good secured operation also in the future. The new requirements are not ready yet, even though Andreas had a good presentation on what is expected. But we got also some comments from hydropower side and also from nuclear power side, what could be obtained by using all those sources quite wisely and also to fit them together in a nice way. What was really nice to hear in the morning was that, okay, we can utilize nuclear also in the future, so there is no really kind of barrier to utilize that possibility to use it to balance the system. So what I think is how we can get forward from here is to actually utilize the good experience from other sides and also try to see how we need to develop the requirements in the way that we can get a good market. So as Maja pointed out, it's one thing that we need to see is that we are also effective in the future, so that we get all those resources we can use for the markets and can utilize them in a wise manner, so that the price that we pay is also reasonable. So maybe that's one thing. I was really happy to see that Andreas pointed out that we will have these reference groups also in the future. We are planning to have this new reserve type, very fast response for those kind of packing up or kind of improving the situation when we don't have so much rotating mass in the system. So then we get a faster response than we get today in order to secure the frequency. But yes, so this was quite long introduction, sorry. But yes, I think there was quite many interesting things today. So thank you for organizing and having this workshop.
For your reflection as well. And I think in Finland you have, if you compare to the FCR market, we have lots of hydropower, which we heard earlier today from Lynn. But in Finland, you do not have that. You are provided from different actors. Can you describe that?
Exactly, yeah. Even though we have discussed quite much hydropower when we have made these new requirements for FCR, the situation is such that in Norway it's almost 100% hydro. Sweden maybe 50, around that. But in Finland we have actually only 25% of the production is hydro. So we need to utilize all the resources. And that's one thing that is quite important, that the requirements for reserves, it's technically or technical neutral. So it's not just for hydro, but it's all the possible resources that can fulfill the requirements. So we look from the grid point of view, what the grid needs. But of course, all the resources that can fulfill that can participate to the same market and provide those services for us.
So we also have good experience from Finland to
exactly, yes.
When we are building this and make sure we can include more.
Yeah, we have quite much, especially for this frequency control disturbance reserve. We have very much loads participating on that market, and also I think we have had also I forgot the word. Sorry, coal burning power plants participating. At least they have made the test, but I'm not so sure if they have participated to the market. But anyway, the aim is to get all the resources, not just hydro, to participate.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I will continue with Henric here. So please introduce yourself. You are here as a research and development manager.
Yep, Henric Lidberg, Ringhals, nuclear power plant. I'm an R&D manager at Ringhals and work also with other different issues, like for example the flexibility from nuclear. Reflection about the day is, what's flexibility? Have you heard? The different speakers here have put their view on flexibility, and it differs quite a lot, and sort of it depends on how you look on flexibility. We talked about different products in some speaks and load following in some other speaks, and then we did flexibility regarding days and weeks and months, and so it's quite a wide area, and the things we need to do differs depending on which way we go. And I'm representing then the nuclear society, or at least Ringhals here, and nuclear and flexibility. We just started to look into that, at least in Sweden. We got some international aspects on it, and I think there are experiences to draw from international. But here in Sweden, we are quite new to this, and we don't really know how to proceed. And I think, and I know that the grid will need more flexibility and more products, but I'm not sure that going a strict market-based approach on this when we are building up something new is the right way to do it. I think we need to work together to put nuclear on the market. As Thomas pointed out before, we can't just go the normal ways, since the regulations are quite new. The area is new for us in nuclear. So if we don't work together, I don't think we will get nuclear into the flexibility markets. I think we need to do something together more to move forward in this area. And I think we need to do that to be able to get a safe and reliable grid in the future.
When you say together, what kind of stakeholders are you thinking about?
The TSO, the SSM, and the nuclear society. I suppose we need to suppliers also to look into what we need to do and draw the international experience in this. And the main challenge is, of course, I get the question sometimes, what can we do with a nuclear power plant? Just show me the money. If you got billions, I can do a lot. If I got 10 crowns, I will do nothing. So, and we don't know that. What's the business in this? We don't know that. So the risk is that we don't do anything. But we have the possibilities.
So, and Tatiana, what is your reflection from from the international perspective, you also represent.
So I think this is the point to analyze what you can do without additional strong investment. So this is, I don't know if it's this step already done. So what's really inside of the design without big differences and changes, and how to proceed with this level, given this level on the market. Then you will have the pilot, for example, a reference case, and then you can go and develop further. And just to do, as I propose, always different approach, middle, high level, and depends on the level what has to be done and how cost effective this is. So, and I learned a lot today, so it's again fantastic to see how important it is to speak together, to understand the needs, because we can design whatever we want if there is no business case behind, all this work is not needed at all. So to understand what really is asked from the grid operator, how we can solve, and it is the same message as you have. I think engineers have solutions, but you cannot promise them, but they have to find a way to analyze the market to be able to explain it to CEO, I have to do this or that, and I want to plan. Maybe the advice would be to make a small step. So, you can do, for example, typical tertiary control, you can do anyway. So you can stay by 100 and you can provide only minus, and you can decide when you want to provide it, when it makes sense on the market.
Mattias, your reflections?
I think I probably shouldn't say much at all at the reflections. But anyhow, I've learned a lot. There has been a lot of good speakers. There's all information I had no idea about. One way to express it is that nuclear could, of course, be seen as an untapped resource for managing grid issues as well. That's what I shouldn't say. But there are, of course, possibilities. Why it's being pointed out, of course, is a business case. Do we have a business case or not? Well, that's not within my area, but obviously there is a challenge there. We have seen it has been resolved in Germany over time, anyhow, naturally in some way, that plant operators are providing flexible services, or voluntarily, so to say, that there is actually a business case for it. I like the answer that actually would you operate flexibly, even though you would know that you're going to operate for 20 more years? And the answer is yes. That means, of course, they don't do it flexibly because they just find it funny. They make some money from it in the end, I'm sure. So there is a business case somewhere, probably. I don't know if I should do a review of the speakers one by one, but obviously the interesting part in the beginning from SVK here is that they're pointing to a market-based solution, and the strong advantage of the market-based solution being that the possibilities to make the right decision is at the plant owner. The plant owner can decide when it is feasible or not feasible to do anything. So that means that we will not have grid operators demanding various things of the plants, and we do not want to see that, of course. Getting into a little bit more of the various products that are needed that came later on, and that actually the situation, where is the situation now? Well, we heard that last year Oskarshamn had reductions of the power because it was necessary from the grid. So we're quite near the need for more flexibility to support the grid. Evert had a lot of good information on practical testing and verification, that how do you actually validate that you can do this. And I particularly like the statement that you have to optimize the plant operation, that's exactly what the legal requirements are as well, that we have to adapt to the new environment. And after Evert, we had
the producer side.
It was the producer side. So we had the hydropower. So that was where we were at, which was, of course, it was obvious. Master of regulation. I've always been seeing hydro as master of regulation. We don't have anything to do there with nuclear. But these 5 seconds, it was a very good and pedagogical explanation that there is a role for as well other types of providers within that can complement the hydro. And Thomas presented some interesting novel concepts. Well, maybe not novel as such, we've been discussing that previously, but some interesting ideas on how you can tap the capability from the nuclear plants. And And then, of course, the international outlook, excellent. That's all I can say.
Well, thank you very much. I will also make a reflection. I see and I hear needs for the TSO to open up and strive to make sure that we can reflect the system needs in a better and more transparent way, and we are doing that. I want to highlight the reference group again, just as Minna told you earlier, and Andreas was presenting as well. Be a part of that. Take your part and give us feedback and see what's possible. When it comes to non-market-based solutions, we are going forward. We are going forward with Oskarshamn cases. When it comes to limitations, that's a remedial action. And I think that's maybe what you talked about, the small steps for enhancing flexibility, make sure how can we do this in a good and a safe way, and make sure that the control center from SPK have the right operational environment so they can actually do their work in a safe way, and also for the control room in the nuclear power plants that they can do this so we gain experience. Because I can say that the experience from last year when we worked together with Oskarshamn was it's really, really valuable for all of us. And that's also how we can go back to the question about how to do the cost-based price, how to price this. Well, when it comes to non-market-based and also some like the FCR, it's based on costs, real costs. And that's something we need to train everyone and another in the system, because that will be different for different technologies and different kind of producers as well. But it is manageable, and we are doing it, and we are moving forward. And we will also see how we can gain experience from May last year when we had the event with Ringhals. So we have started just recently to see how we can make sure that we have flexibility outside normal operation as well. So we are moving forward, and I think this seminar is a good step forward to make all the stakeholders talk to each other and gain experience, because one of the absolute key things that's been coming up and up again today is knowledge and understanding for each role in the system. And I think that's been really highlighted today. So thank you very much. I will ask the audience if you have any questions or reflections you want to share.
I have a few reflections which I hope will end in a question. We heard some from Thomas that we have a low hanging fruit in the tree, and also Tatiana mentioned that even higher up there are a lot of apples that we could pick. And we also heard from SVK there is a need for products that should be well, in the best case, be in operation already yesterday. And so I want to touch up on the question: how do we make things happen? How do we proceed? And Tatiana mentioned negative prices, and representing power operators, I don't think that is a sustainable future to aim at. Negative prices is not convenient for anyone, I think. And also we have already market-based solutions in place, as you mentioned, Maya. So what could be done to make things happen?
I have actually one possible. One thing that could be done is to try like a pilot project on, let's say, one of our plants, and try what we can offer, if that is what we propose to offer. Is that something that is of any use? That might be one way to sort of get with the interaction that I'm asking for, so we sort of feel, because we will do whatever we believe is profitable. And the more confident we feel that what we can provide is actually being valued, then we will feel more. And particularly, I would like to do this just because I think it's fun. But I have to go and ask people who have the money, and I have to be able to present a business case to them that is viable. And after having tried a little bit, with one thing, and you can make sure that you don't have any problems. Because the greatest risk for us is the plant itself. Anything that might hurt the plant is a problem. Germany and France says it's no problem, but people are skeptic, and we have some special features. Our pumps are special. We have water-cooled generators. Who knows if there is any special problems with those? So that might be one way to proceed, to get going, to start a pilot project.
Thanks. A short reflection to that one. So I think there are quite many things going on. So, for example, Nordic countries are moving towards 15 minutes balancing period. So that is one thing that will help to balance production and consumption. And then there's this Nordic balancing model, new that is being developed. And one thing for the low inertia situations, we will try to get this new reserve type FFR, which was mentioned a couple of times. We try to get that also into operation. So that, I guess, in next summer, there will be still need to limit power of the biggest units, but hopefully soon we will get kind of a new product so that we don't need to do that one.
And I think Norway have already executed a pilot for the FFR, and I think we will continue to do that. So be in the reference group for the new FCR requirements and FFR. Send an email. You will get it from Andreas' presentation as well. That's how we will test it. Just a reflection from mine. Any more questions from the audience? We have...
My name is Göran Lindahl from Svenska Kraftnät. I have one question. I think it's pointed to you, Tatiana, regarding the German fleet and the nuclear power plants there. And you have adapted this flexible operation for some years. Has there been any kind of how to say, more severe grid disturbances where you have seen that the reactors have how to say, participated in a different way compared to the time where they were not doing this flexible job in terms of oscillations or something like that?
You mean if there were additional problems on the nuclear part participating on the flexible services, or worse? So, okay, if there were any event, if there were real event, and so you are waiting that because of flex operation of nuclear plants, there could be additional issues on the grid side? No. So why it should be? So what is the theory? No, I haven't heard about anything.
Thank you. Hi, Joachim from KTH. I was thinking about your thoughts about flexible fuel production in relation to nuclear power. It's because it's no secret that in the future we'll need more electricity. And one of the problems with, for example, hydrogen production, that the facilities have quite low capacity factors, which makes them expensive. But with nuclear power, we can have far more hours of the year of operation. So how do you see the prospects of utilizing, for example, solid oxide electrolyzers in a couple with nuclear power, which are very efficient?
So I think if I understand the question correctly, you're talking about a new type of hydrogen recombiners within the containment to control the hydrogen levels inside the containment?
Yeah, like
on the grid side. On the grid side. You can take it. Okay.
So I think this kind of projects is something new, and a lot of countries are looking at it, especially in US. So some NPPs decide we do not want to do flexible operation with our NPPs, but we need a flexibility in the grid. So we just use these what we need in this moment for something else, like for hydrogen production, for example, or desalination or other ideas. We have heard a lot about this, but I had never seen a real business case behind again. So as idea, it's very nice, very good, but I have not seen it as a product. So development is going, I think, in Argonne, at Idaho National Labs and other places. We have also now in Framatome a special group working on this issue as well, but I think it's still a little bit science, but we hope. So this is what I will say. I think we have a mix of solutions. So my perfect future looks like following. Each NPP in the world can be flexible. So the capability is there, not only for new plants, but for all others who are in the grid. We have all other participants in the grid as well, like demand response, batteries. If we don't want, we do production of hydrogen, or in other regions we use it for something else. So I think it's always in the future it will be a mixture of everything. But we nuclear, we have to become flexible to be the part of the grid in the future. I think there's no discussion anymore. It's a question today or tomorrow. Okay, you can maybe slow down this development, but I really don't think that there is a chance to avoid. If you will, but okay, do you want? What your question was? If it's possible, of course. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I understood. Yes. So we are working on such project. It's called. It's possible. Yes. It's alternative solutions, and I would say about 100 others on the market as an idea is on the market. And I think all of them will somehow leave or will be there.
Any more questions?
The question is for the grid operator. So as we know, typically the activation of the reserve sequence you start with primary, secondary, and tertiary. Have you thought of done it the opposite way? If you have updates, very frequent updates of the forecast error of your system, like what they do it in Denmark. So you activate, you know there will, when you approach it at the hour operation, you know what, you have a better sort of forecast of what's the imbalances. So you activate your tertiary first, and then your secondary, and then you don't need so much primary anymore. Have you done that?
Thank you. Yes, we do it all the time. So we have a forecast of load and productions, and we need to do, we don't call it tertiary, secondary, primary. It's more like FCR, it's for frequency. And then we have this FRR, which is manual or automatic. Manual is more like this tertiary. So it's based on, we look the forecast for loading and also for production and try to, from that point of view, to activate in time. Especially the hour shifts are difficult when the trades are changing. So it's important and it's active already.
So you start with the RR first. You see a forecast of a certain area in the coming hour.
Yeah. And we also, yes.
And then, could I just ask one first? I would actually like to ask the owners. We have at least one owner representative here with Claes. If you would like to comment on what we've been discussing today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Claes Haldin with the Uniper.
Actually, the question, why haven't we seen this flying? I think for a private owner as Uniper, that is a sign of that there's no business still. Because if there is a business case, you will see it happen. It's a little bit a pity that what we did in our plant, Karlsson, regarding the pre-qualification wasn't presented here today. Maybe next time we can have a presentation of that, because it's more related to nuclear than hydro is to nuclear. My last comment is, or maybe I would like to ask SSM about SSM's view on this, that status of the Swedish or Nordic grid is such as that we see both, we heard today in Ringhals, and we have a number of examples from Oskarshamn where the TSO is calling the central control room at the nuclear power plant and asking for acute means to correct the operation of the grid. What is your view on that regarding challenging the shift operator, and also if that is also taking care of grace time and what we normally require a good analysis from the people in the control room. And last, my comment is that we haven't, you Monica, you touched upon the environmental issues, and I think that there are three very obvious environmental facts if we heavily use nuclear power for ancillary services. First of all, the fuel utilization will get less optimal. Secondly, of course, the thermal efficiency of the turbine unit will go down. But maybe most important is the third fact, and that is, since nuclear is the absolute best power for the CO2 footprint, every lost megawatt hour due to non-base load is a penalty on the CO2. And that should also be taken into account, because we are in this situation because we have an establishment that wants to add a lot of weather-dependent wind power in the Nordic grid, arguing that that is good for CO2. But then it's very bad for CO2 to use nuclear power for ancillary services, because you need to reduce the base load output. So that must also be taken into account. Thank you.
Yes, I think you had a number of questions there, so I'll probably start to answer the first one first. That might be logical. So if the national grid is calling the nuclear operator to ask for any change of operation, who is responsible? Well, it's the licensee. The expectation from SSM is obviously that the technical specifications of the plant is not violated. And if you have to go outside of the technical specifications, you have to do a safety assessment. And this one should be reported to SSM. It should not be approved by SSM, but it should be reported by SSM. So you can go outside of the tech spec, but you need to do your own safety assessment. And that's the basic fundamental of the nuclear law, that the licensee is responsible for the operation. This is what I think might be a benefit if we base it on the market, because that means that you can provide the service when you think it's safe to do so, and you have better control of your own processes. So I think that was the first question. Then you had a quite longer question about the CO2 footprint and what is replacing what. And this is, of course, a good question. It's our energy minister once said that, well, actually I listened to him, and he said that, well, we just need to regulate with the hydro a lot harder, and it's not a problem. But of course, hydro has some environmental impact as well. So whatever you do has an impact in the process. If you install more wind, well, you need to produce the wind. It has a life cycle of 20 years, and then you will have to decommission the wind. Or do you decommission the wind, or do you just leave it? It has an environmental impact, and obviously the overall goal should be, we have this directive to the authorities, myndighetsförordningen, which is saying that we should strive to maximize the benefit for the individual and the state. And the state probably should be understood as society, because we're a democracy, so the state should be represented representative for the society. So what is optimal, the global optimum? It will be really hard to achieve that. The idea, of course, in the market economy is that the market model should provide a platform to achieve some sort of near optimum, global optimum. But what's happening when we have a lot of individual players, it's easy to maximize in your own area and not look so much at the other areas. And hence what I said in my presentation, we're not trying to promote flexible operation because the safest nuclear plant doesn't exist. If we don't have a nuclear plant, it's totally safe, but we will not get the benefit either. But we can see from the laws and regulation that flexible operation is not forbidden. So it is a possibility, but it depends on if the benefit is outweighing the cost, then it's probably an idea from the state's point of view to do it as well, not only a business case. So not a direct answer, but I hope it somewhat relates to the question.
I would just like to add to your reflection, Claes, because I think they're really good. Also, when we have this ancillary service for the operational security, when we, for example, limiting the output from Oskarshamn 3, the power output, we will take out adequacy for the market as well. So if when we're asking the hydropower to be more flexible and deliver more and more ancillary service, we will go in and we will be there and in somehow also limited the adequacy from production generation as well. And we see that we have problems with the power balance in this country as well, that we need to have more adequacy, more capacity in the system. So it is, it will be troubled. So that's why we have been trying to get the government and all the stakeholders in this power system as well to look at we need a goal for the security of supply. We need to have a certain level for it because the adequacy and the operational security, they are depending on each other for the system operation. So it's really, really important that we get this reflection up on high level as well. So the time is up. Thank you very much for a fantastic day. It's been interesting, and I'm really glad that we have been able to get all these different stakeholders and hydropower and nuclear power and also research facilities inside the same room together with authorities and international experience and also 2 TSOs as well. It's been an amazing day. So thank you, Monica, for organizing and leading the GENO program so we can provide these kind of seminars and share knowledge and experience. So big applause for...
Actually, the person that you should thank is Thomas, because he is the one that came up with the idea to arrange this seminar. He attended the January seminar and he thought that we were just like scratching on the surface and that we wanted to go a bit deeper. So thank you very much, Thomas. And thank you, Maja, for helping with the program. And thank you, SSM, for inviting us here. And thanks all of you for participating. And I will send you the email as soon as the documentation is up on the web. Remember to leave your tags at the reception. And if you feel that you need some more energy to get all the way home, there are some extra cinnamon buns in a brown bag there. So please help yourself. Thank you.